wanted to follow up with real quick, because I feel like I agree. We're very lacking in our communication even before the pandemic, but we're also one of the most connected eras in all of history. We have every resource, every contact. We can do this video chat from different states. We can do all these things, but yet we're more lonely, we're more isolated. The pandemic obviously has shined a light on why that is. But can you talk about when you say connected, what does that look like? Like, what are some definitions that we could say to show this is how we're connected versus this is how we're talking?
No, absolutely. And I love that you brought that up about all of the technology and all the resources at our disposal for connection. So there's a couple things going on. Number one, when we say connected, we're talking about actual neurobiology and brain mechanisms that God put into our bodies in order to identify that we are in a physical space with someone. And so our bodies crave face-to-face connection. That is a thing that we need that other things cannot replace. So even in the age of phones before the internet was created, it was different to go see your mom or your dad or a friend in person than it was to pick up the telephone and talk to them. Different mechanisms in our brain, different hormones are released when we see people's faces, when we see them in person. So when we say connection, that's one thing we're saying, is that there's a physicality to connection that's really important. Then the other part of that is there is a spirituality to connection. And that's like a kind of a broad word, spirituality. And by that, I mean that God, who is the creator of all mankind, is knitting people together, right? That he's got this big plan for our stories to intertwine. Spiritually, we are made for connection, and connections will happen even when we are only moderately invested in them. And then there's the emotional piece to it. And so emotions are connected to our neurobiology. Like I said, hormones, oxytocin is the attachment hormone that tells us that there's someone that is meaningful to us in our midst. And we need a sense of that in our bodies and in our souls and in our hearts and minds. And so we will crave it. There's this desire built into us. And that comes in different ways. Maybe we have a need to be with a group, like we'd like to be surrounded by a group of people and hear their laughter and hear their noise. Whereas other times we have a desire or craving to be with an individual and have a heart-to-heart conversation over coffee. But if you pay attention to that sense in your inner parts, if you will, in your internal gut, good job, Egyptians, back to them, right? And in your inner heart and all of that, then I think that's a good clue. But we don't spend a lot of time paying attention to those different things. We don't spend a lot of time paying attention to like our physical connections, the spiritual connections that God's doing around us, and then also our emotions, because they're kind of uncomfortable and a little bit unruly at times.